Hello and welcome to this video on my language, rqɭəmi mtiqǃ. The name of this language means how we talk together, and in this video I'm going to specifically talk about morphosyntactic alignment and polysynthesis. Despite this language being fictional, I've chosen to situate it in the real world, in the Caucasus, hailing from the eastern edge of the Black Sea, with the people migrating across the Armenian highlands around the 3rd century CE and settling in what is currently northern Azerbaijan. It has contact influences from Laz, Old Georgian, and extensively with Old Armenian and Akhvan, or Caucasian Albanian. Because of this, it has a number of Caucasian features, such as adjectives and compound cases, but also some of its unique features, marking it as a unique language family, such as indigenous words for nautical concepts, which are rare in the inland Caucasian languages, and retroflex consonants. Here you can see the phonology with those retroflex consonants and lots of uvular sounds, such as qa, ga, and a retroflex qa. rqḥləmi mtiqǃ has a small vowel inventory and a large consonant inventory, which is common for languages of the Caucasus. The only vowels it has is I, U, A, and A. I've chosen to represent stress with an acute accent over the stressed vowel, and the open central vowel will be represented as A without the diaeresis. Typologically, rqḥləmi mtiqǃ is polysynthetic, which means that it expresses a lot of the information that in a language such as English would be expressed with separate words in one highly inflected word, usually a verb. There are three features that are commonly thought of as polysynthetic. Firstly, polypersonalism, which is the agreement of the verb with multiple arguments, for instance the subject and the object. Verb incorporation, where the verb incorporates its adjuncts, including other verbs, which in some languages can cause entire clauses to be incorporated into the verb. And noun incorporation, which is the incorporation of certain nominal arguments into the verb, or the hollow phrase as it is called, which means a heavily inflected verb. This noun incorporation does not happen in rqḥləmi mtiqǃ, only pronouns can be incorporated into the verb. rqḥləmi mtiqǃ also has a very large case inventory with 20 different cases. Here we can see the language's very large case inventory for the noun naqsh, meaning see. Different cases are formed by attaching suffixes to one of two stems, the absolutive stem, which we will cover in the next few slides, and the equative stem. The equative stem is used for the complement of copular phrases. For instance, the phrase in English, I am a student, student would be marked in the equative in rqḥləmi mtiqǃ. The meaning of the case marked in the equative is often an extension of the meaning of that marked in the absolutive. For instance, the inessive case, meaning in, for the word naqsh is naqsh with the suffix ha'a. The equative form of this is the subessive, meaning under, nayiqsh using the same suffix. The meaning of under is somewhat of an extension of the meaning of in, or at least that's how the logic of rqḥləmi mtiqǃ sees it. Forming the equative stem from the absolutive is not simple and often includes vowel changes and consonant mutation. The basic word order is SOV or OVS, and the object and verb constitute the predicate. The predicate cannot be broken up. Here are the three acceptable word orders: subject, object, verb, subject, and verb, object, subject. rqḥləmi mtiqǃ has a complicated alignment system, which I will hopefully explain in the next few slides. The system can be described as split ergativity based on agentivity, meaning the subcategorization of the verb for an agent as opposed to an experiencer or some other non-agent semantic role. Three cases are used for marking core syntactic arguments of non-copular verbs: the absolutive, which is unmarked, the agentive, and the equative, both of which are marked. While the nouns in the sentence are marked using case, this split also manifests on verb marking, with verbs that take an ergative subject using different agreement suffixes. To explain this, I will split the verb paradigm into transitive and intransitive verbs. First, we will talk about transitive agentive verbs, those that subcategorize for an agent. For example, the verb eat with the stem amr. We can see that it subcategorizes for an agent, marked in the agentive, and a patient, marked in the absolutive. In the following sentence, meaning the fish ate the krill, the fish is the subject and has agency in the action that is doing. Thus, it is marked in the agentive with the suffix mir. The krill is the patient and is marked in the absolutive. And the verb agrees both for the subject and the object, as well as marking the past tense. Here we can see the A, F, and C structures for this sentence. Let's now look at a transitive unagentive verb, rqḥ, meaning to see. This verb subcategorizes for an experiencer and a stimulus, meaning the subject is not really an agent with agency in the action, but an experiencer of some event. This status is marked through the ergative case on the subject and different marking on the verb. In the sentence below, the subject, the fish, is marked in the ergative, the object, the krill, is marked in the absolutive, and the verb takes the following marking. Past tense, a morpheme called de-agentivizer, which simply shows that the verb does not have an agent, object marking in ras, and subject marking in t'ang. Notice that the subject marking fills a different slot in the verb template as well as having a different form. And here are the structures for that sentence. Sometimes changing the alignment paradigm can change the meaning. Here, rqḥ is treated as an agentive verb, thus meaning watch instead of see. Now for intransitive verbs. For unaccusative verbs, those that do not take an agent, the marking of the subject is in the absolutive. And for unergative verbs, those that do take an agent, the marking is in the agentive. The fish sleeps has the subject in the absolutive. However, has the subject in the agentive, as it has agency over this action. Unlike for transitive verbs, there is no differential marking of subject agreement. Here are the structures for that sentence. And here is a schematic of the alignment system in Kəjə rqɭəmi mtiqǃ, delineating between subjects of S, of intransitive verbs, the object, and agents, A, of transitive verbs. For the last part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about the syntactic constraints of verb incorporation. Being a polysynthetic language, Kəjə rqḥəmi mtiqǃ can incorporate certain material into the verb. This includes modifiers of the verb, for instance adverbs, and even other verbs themselves. These other verbs originally come from converb constructions, where the verb is marked as an adverb, and then they are incorporated into the verb. Incorporated verbs take specific markers, as you can see below, called converbials, and if they do not have a specific marker, then it is interpreted as a goal of the main verb. They are also not tensed independently, with any temporal marking being relative to the main verb, much like converbs. Clausality is the extent of the domain that a hollow phrase can dominate, a hollow phrase being the highly inflected verb in polysynthetic languages. In Kəjə rqḥəmi mtiqǃ, hollow phrases must be monoclausal, meaning an incorporated verb cannot head a distinct clause and cannot have a subject which is different from that of the main verb. See the following example with the intransitive verb valuk, meaning to try. In valuk has been incorporated into the hollow phrase with the manner converbial, meaning something like I tried to eat the fish or I ate the fish tryingly. In the F structure for this phrase, we can see how the tense component and the subject are shared by both the main verb and the incorporated verb, here inside the adjunct try. Let's now look at a slightly more complex case of verbal incorporation. In this phrase, the incorporated verb has its own object, which has been rendered as an oblique using the instrumental case. Meaning I caught the fish in order to eat it. As there is no explicit converbial, the incorporated verb is interpreted as a goal of the main verb, in order to eat. In the second gloss, you can see how the oblique argument can be incorporated into the verb with a pronominal clitic. Note that this is not agreement, as the pronominal clitic and the explicit argument are in complementary distribution. Here is the A structure, with the verb subcategorizing for an agent, marked in the agentive, a patient, marked in the absolutive, and a goal, marked with the instrumental. We can also see how the oblique argument comes off the V bar node in the C structure. Here is the F structure, showing that all of the features of the incorporated verb are governed by external predicates. If we were to try and incorporate a verb with a different subject to the main verb, as in the following ungrammatical sentence, this would not be interpreted in the way we intended. Instead of meaning, I ate the fish that had been caught, it would mean, I, having been caught, ate the fish, as the subject of the incorporated verb has to be the same as that of the main verb. Instead, a complement clause is required. Here is the C structure for that, with a complement phrase. And Please check out my appendices for additional information.